Hi, welcome to my video on part 6, composition of functions, number 4. Composition of functions. If y equals 4x minus 2, x equals a half a plus 3, express y as a function of a. So y as a function of a. So we got a y and an a. That means that the x has to go. So if x equals a half a plus 3, subbing a half a plus 3 in here. So if I write down this equation, and x is a half a plus 3, then the x is gone, and I have y equals 4 times a half is 2a, 4 times 3 is 12, minus 2, so y equals 2a plus 10. So y is a function of a, so that means you have y equals a. When I do a function of, I always have the first term, which is y, then is an a, y is on the left, a is on the right. Number 2, if x equals y plus 3, and w equals 4 over 5t, and x equals 20w, express t as a function of y. So we're expressing t as a function of y. Well, let's look at it. The variables, we have an x, we have a y, we have a w, and we have a t. So if I have all these variables and I want t to be a function of y, that means t is on the left, y is on the right. So that means if I got a t and a y, that means I have to remove the x and the w by substitution. So I have to remove the x, so I have to get rid of the x. So if x equals y plus 3 and x equals 20w, since x is equal to these two, that means that y plus 3 is equal to 20w. Now I got a relationship that in terms of y and w. So x is gone. So x is gone. Now I need to remove the w. So the w is equal to 4 over 5t. So if I replace the w with the t, I'll have y as a function of w, but we can reverse that. So y plus 3 equals w is equal to 4 over 5t. So y plus 3 equals 5 into 20 goes 4. We have a 16t. So we need t as a function of y. So that means, let's reverse it, switch it, 16t equals y plus 3. I just flipped it around. Now I can divide by 16. So that means that, t is equal to 1 over 16 y plus 3 over 16. So now I have t as a function of y. Just getting ready. These problems that I'm doing here are setting it up for doing word problems. And you'll see why this is done. Number 3, if y equals the square root of x minus 2, v equals 1/3 y, p equals v plus 1, express x as a function of p. So we have the x as a function of p. Again, I'll have x on the left and p on the right. But we have the variables we have are y and x and v and p. So we want x as a function of p. X as a function of p, that means we have to remove the y and we have to remove the v. So the y and the v have to go. So we have V is, let's see, V equals 1/3 Y, and P equals V plus 1. So we can say that P is equal to V is 1/3 Y plus 1. So the V is gone. So now we have P as a function of Y. So we want X and P. So we want X and P, so Y has to go. So now we have to go P, we want X and P. So let's take the Y and make the, let's see, we need Y, okay. So we need P and we need X. So we got a P and we need an X. So Y is equal to X minus 2 plus 1. So notice I have P and Y, but we don't want a Y, so we want an X. So we take the Y, which is square root of X minus 2, and sub it in for Y. Now we have P and X. So the Y is gone, P and X, but we want X as a function of P. Right now I got P as a function of X. So let's solve the equation for X. So let's take the P and subtract 1. Let's multiply by 3 to get rid of the 1/3 here. So 3P minus 3. 3 times 1/3 is 1. So let's flip the equation to have X. Flip the equation around by what they call symmetrical property. Symmetry property. We're able to, like, if X equals Y, Y equals X. And now we square both sides. So the square root of X minus 2 squared is X minus 2. And this becomes 3P minus 3 all squared. So X is equal to 3P subtract 3 squared plus 2. So that now X is a function of P. So X is on the left, P is on the right. We can also tidy this up a little tiny bit, and I'll show you that. 3 is a common factor, so we can take the 3 out. And we take the 3 out, so that means we square both of these, so we can have 3 squared P minus 1 squared plus 2. So X is equal to 9 times P minus 1 all squared plus 2. Just, again, X is a function of P now. Notice that X is a function of P, so there's no Y's and there's no B's. Just getting you ready to do some word problems. That's very important in pre-calculus, getting you ready to do calculus. Number 4, express the area of a square as a function of the perimeter. So that means we want the area as a function of P. So that means we don't want the S. So we know, so if you take a square is all right angles, and all the sides are the same, S, S, and S. S represents the sides. So we have an area, so the area is length times width, which is S times S, which is S squared. The perimeter of a square is, perimeter is add up all the sides, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the perimeter is 4S. So right now the area is a function of S. The perimeter is a function of S. We want the area as a function of P. So that means if we divide by 4, S is equal to P over 4. So the area, if S is equal to P over 4, P over 4 goes into place of S. So the area is P squared over 16. Or you could say, if you want, the area is 1/16 of P squared. So now the area is a function of P. Number 5, express the volume of a cylinder, a right cylinder that is. And when I say a right cylinder, I mean a right cylinder is like this. That's a right cylinder in which the height here is perpendicular to the base. And this is the radius of the base. So the volume of a right cylinder, so we want the volume is a function of h. So the volume is, that's the way I write it down, is a function of h. Express the volume of right cylinder as a function of h, height h, if the radius is 6 times the height. The radius is 6 times the height, so that means the radius is a function of h. We want the volume as a function of h, so the volume of a right cylinder is the base area, which is a circle, pi r squared, moving up through a height. So this base is moved up through the height, so as the area of the circle moves through a height. But this has the volume. Right now, the volume of a right cylinder is a function of r and h, but we only want it as a function of h. That means that r gotta go. So r is 6h. So we replace r with 6h, so 6h squared. So pi times 6h all squared times h. So pi and 6h all squared is 36h squared. So the volume is, that's 36 pi h cubed. So now the volume is a function of h. And why is that is, it's just, you know, you can get the area of, go back to number 4, you can get the area of a square by getting the side, but it still works out. But if you get the perimeter and fit it in here, it still comes out to the same area. Just to give you an example, let's take a square that has a 4, a 4, a 4, 4 for the sides. So the area of the square is 4 squared, which is 16. But the area of a square also is the perimeter squared over 16. So the perimeter of this square is 4 times 4, or sorry, 4 plus 4 plus 4, 4. So the perimeter is 16. So if you take the perimeter, which is 16, and square it over 16, that's 16. So you get the same. It's just another way of defining it in relation to a different variable. You still get the same answer, but it's just a different variation of what is a function of. Number 6, a right triangle has legs of 4g and 3g and a hypotenuse of d. Express d as a function of g. So we have a right triangle, which looks like this. And the right triangle has legs of 4g and 3g. And it has a hypotenuse of d. So we want to express d as a function of g. So in the right triangle, we have c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. So what happens, this is the c, a, and b. C is the hypotenuse, a and b are the legs. So c, in this case, is the d. The a is 4g squared. The b is 3g, and we're going to square it. So d squared is equal to 4g squared is 16g squared. 3g being squared, 3g times 3g is 9g squared. Make sure that's g. So that gives us d squared. These are like terms, so that's 9 and 16 is 25g squared. So to get to d, we do the square root of d squared is equal to plus minus the square root of 25g squared. Square root of d squared is d, plus minus the square root of 25 is 5, square root of g squared is g. But because this is a triangle, d is equal to 5g. So that's d as a function of g. So that's helping you, this variation that we're doing here as a function of is getting us ready to do some nice or beautiful word problems in pre-calculus and getting you ready for calculus. And if you like my video, click on the like button, click on the subscribe button. If you want to be a subscriber to my channel, visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. And that's the content that I have on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Thank you for viewing my video. Hope the video was of some help to you. Bye-bye.